Well, both teams, as you'd expect, are supremely confident. Dan Goosen, you've been a promoter for a long time. What makes this fight so special?
Because Andre Ward is special. If you don't have that fighter, and you know, I was listening to interviews with Eddie yesterday, and he makes a lot of darn good points to put Carl in that category. But I just know, I don't believe, I know that we've got a special athlete in Andre Ward.
There's more than one fighter in the fight, though, isn't there, Eddie?
Yeah, I think so. And I think, you know, most people would want to watch Carl Froch fight. Everyone knows what he delivers every time. And we've stressed from day one, Andre Ward is a great fighter. I'm sure as the fight closes in, there's going to be a few choice words between camps and fighters. But the bottom line is they respect each other. They know that to win this fight, they've got to go beyond anything they've done before in their careers. And that's what makes it so interesting.
Can I throw one thing in? Because I got to tell you, that is correct every time we're together. But, you know, it's like yesterday at the press conference, Carl didn't say anything nasty. I picked up the internet today. There was more nasty stuff in there with what Carl was saying. I couldn't believe it. So, you know, it's one of the things that I missed with Carl on the teleconference and on at the press conference is that he didn't save those words in front of Andre Ward.
I think possibly it's because he was very quiet. I think as the fight gets closer, I mean, Andre looked quite rattled yesterday for the first time.
Well, so, yeah, he wanted to knock the hell out of him right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's going to be possible, but you know, that's what makes it so interesting. These guys have got their views. People say Andre Ward can't punch. Virgil believes he's going to stop Carl Froch. We believe Carl Froch is going to stop Andre Ward. You need those fights where there's that uncertainty. Everyone's got their pick. Everyone's got their favourite. I know Andre's the slight favourite in the bookies. I like his line that he won't see himself as a favourite to push himself harder, but the big pressure's on Andre Ward here. He's a bit of a golden boy in America, and this is his chance to shine.
Will you not say golden boy, okay?
Don't you like that?
Huh?
What have you got against golden boy?
Virgil, can I ask, do you think this is Andre Ward's toughest test to date?
Oh, you have to do that. You have to consider this his toughest test today because it's a fight of unknown. It hasn't happened yet. So we approach it as his toughest test like we approached every fight from the time he first laced up his gloves. Every fight, whether you're 0-20 or you're 28-1, is your toughest test. So anything less than that would really be a disservice to him as a fighter.
Robert, how good do you think Andre Ward is? We've not really seen how good he can be yet, have we?
I think he's very good. He can box and he can fight. People say that he sticks to his boxing and stuff. I've seen him fight and he can fight. He can box as well. He's very good, that's why he's in the final. These two fellas got to the final because they're the best two super middleweights in the world. A lot of people are asking how good is Andre Ward because he's newer than Carl, as you'd say in the professionals. But he looks very good. But Carl Froch is very good as well, and he knows how to fight. So it's going to be a fascinating fight. I mean, I'm Carl's coach, obviously, but I'm a boxing fan as well, and a part of me is looking forward to it because it's going to be fantastic. You've got a real out-and-out talent in Andre Ward and a real prize fighter in Carl Froch, and you never know what happens when you get two fighters. A different elk, but of that level, you never know what's going to happen.
Do you have to unsettle Ward in the fight, stop him getting into a rhythm?
I think you have to break his rhythm, which obviously Andre would be trying to do with Carl. You have to fight him when he doesn't want to fight, and you have to box him when he doesn't want to box. But boxing is very instinctive, and you know, me and Virgil guide the fighters through, and we guide them through the fight. But at times in the round, you know, they got to do their own thing, and they got to fight, and they got to box, and they got to know when to do it and when not to. So. That's why it's fascinating. That's why part of me is nervous, but part of me is really looking forward to it on a Saturday night. And I'm sure Carl will deliver a great performance, but for sure it'll be a great fight.
The fight was delayed because Andre Ward suffered a cut in training. Is that a factor in this fight?
Not at all. That's part of the business, part of the game. It was unfortunate because of the setback, and you know, we could feel on this side, of course, when people come across the pond getting tickets and things of that nature. And so, I mean, we were very sympathetic to that. I mean, man, I'd like to be at home right now on this Thanksgiving and everything else. You have to rearrange things, cost money, things like that, but it's part of the game, so in order to maintain this pace and in order to maintain this level, you have to accept it.
It's such a big stage. How is Ward coping? Because there is extra pressure, isn't there?
Well, there's always pressure, and he's been under pressure since he first started boxing. I mean, he's been on the Olympic stage. That's a tremendous pressure. I mean, can you imagine a young man fighting at 169 pounds, never been on the international level, fighting two-time world champions and two-time runner-up world champions, 6'6", you know, natural light heavyweights, and all of a sudden this young kid who I thought was going to grow into a light heavyweight, that's why we qualified the weight early a year out, but he never did. So, I mean, he's eating just to make the weight the next day. He's getting laughed at. So he understands the pressure. He's been through adversity and everything, and he's been through different heights, reaches. Nothing's going to faze him.
Carl's had this incredible run of fights, hasn't he? Even before the Super Six tournament. Is that an advantage or a disadvantage going into the fight?
I think it's an advantage. Jermaine Taylor, and it was a good Jermaine Taylor when he boxed him. People forgot after Carl boxed him when he went into the Abraham fight that he was pretty fresh coming into the fight. Taylor was so fast for 4 or 5 rounds, it was unbelievable. But that's helped Carl. He's got that experience of being in with someone really quick. Andre Durrell's very fast as well. So he learned a bit in there as well. He's also had the tough guys. He's had the Nico Kesters and the Arthur Abrams thrown in, the Glenn Johnsons as well. So he's had real speed coming at him, and he's had real strength coming at him. And he's had Jean Pascal before that, who's a little bit of both. So he's mixed it with the right people to get him to this stage. He's got the right experience to go into a fight of this magnitude. So he's ready. He's looking forward to it, and he loves fighting. He loves training. He loves boxing. And it is a privilege to be doing what he does, and he knows that.
And Virgil, obviously, Carl's known for his strength, his durability a little bit. Do you have to box on the outside, or can you take it inside with him?
Well, I think touching on something that Coach McCracken said, obviously watching the Jean Pascal and Jermaine Taylor fight against Froch, both fighters do not possess the necessary stamina to keep up what they need to keep up. Both of them were highly successful as long as their stamina was intact. As they begin, Pascal fights in spurts and Jermaine Taylor fades. Andre Durrell has blinding speed, but Andre Ward has eye-opening speed. So there's a big difference right there. Andre Durrell is a circler, where Andre Ward fights in a tighter circle. So you can't use those two fights other than the fact that Pascal fights in spurts because of his muscular build. He needs to regroup after he throws 3 or 4 punches. And Jermaine just gradually fades, and that's just not in one fight. He does it in all fights. So we took something from each of that fight, that Pascal fight. We took something from the Jermaine Taylor fight, and also the Kessler fight, where I felt that Kessler made a lot of mistakes. And I think he underestimated Carl. I think Abraham underestimated him. I think he sat there at ringside, and he felt that if Carl Froch fought the fight against him that he fought against Kessler, that he was going to catch him. And he made a bad miscalculation. He underestimated him, and Kessler underestimated him. So that's the difference. We never underestimated him, and we never underestimated anybody in the tournament. To us, he's a giant. And like I said before, regardless of the odds, in my mind, Andre has to overcome Carl Froch. He was a champion before Andre was. He's been here longer. So as of where I stand right now, Carl Froch should be above Andre Ward until the fight is over. Then we can see if we can get our rightful places.
Well, let's get a prediction from all of you. Robert, what's going to happen on Saturday night?
I think it will be a great fight. There's no doubt about it. It will, because Carl Froch is involved and Andre Ward looks like he means business at the press conference. He knows what's in store, and he's obviously ready. But it's going to be a great fight. But I think Carl's experience is going to show on the night, and I think he's going to grind Andre down to a good points decision.
Virgil?
I think the biggest surprise in this fight is when Carl finds out he's not stronger than Andre. And I know it seems from the outside it doesn't seem that way. When he finds out that things are happening so quick, that's a relaxation point. I think, and from observing the duel of Coach McCracken and Carl, I mean, there are times he has a lot of doubt in Carl, because Carl might go off into something that's completely off the plan. And I've seen him scold Carl quite a bit on different things. So Carl has in and out lapses where he'll pull it together, and then sometimes he'll pull it together where it's favorable for what they're trying to do. So you can almost anticipate him wanting to keep Andre at the end of the jab, so to speak, and everything, and trying to keep him at bay and work off the jab and bring everything off the jab. You can almost anticipate that, you see, and then really that's the only way that he can approach this fight, really. But I think when he finds out that, like everyone else has found out, that things aren't what they thought it was, then I think the fight will become very interesting.
Robert, do you want to respond to that?
I understand what he says. Listen, fighters do come off the plan sometimes. I mean, against Glenn Johnson, Carl was winning comfortably, then he switches off for a minute, takes 2 right hands that he didn't need to take, and comes back to the corner and says, "What do I do that for?" And it's, "Oh, well, don't do it again. This is fighting, this is boxing." And that's why boxers need coaches, because they didn't have coaches, there'd be loads of problems. But yeah, he lapses in and out sometimes, but that's what makes him the fighter that he is. And he'll turn it on the night, and he'll turn it on enough times during the 12 rounds to get through and get his victory.
And Eddie, of course, Carl is used to those hard fights, to the big stage, isn't he?
He is, he's been in so many of them, and still, when you look at his career, he still hasn't had 30 fights. You go on about how many fights he's had consecutively away from home, and you think still he's only had 29 fights, which is unbelievable, really. You expect a fighter like him to be in his late 30s a number of fights, but I'm not really one for predictions. I just think that knowing Carl like I know him, and knowing how stubborn he is, I just believe he's going to find a way. And I'm not going to say how that way is or predict a round or anything like that, but I know how much it means to him. I know about the attention that he's getting back home now, and he finally feels as though he's a superstar, and he finally feels as though this is his chance to really go out and prove himself and create a legacy, because I truly believe that with this victory it puts him up as one of the greatest British fighters of all time, and that's testament to how good Andre Ward is. To go and beat Andre Ward in the US would be a huge achievement, and just like I say, his stubbornness, I believe, will get him over the line.
Dan, last word with you.
Well, before I give you the last word, I want to commend these two gentlemen, and I mean that sincerity, because it's hard to find class people that know what they're speaking about in our sport. So England should be very proud of both Matchroom Sports, Eddie and Barry Hearn, and especially Robert McCracken, a man that I've known for many years. As Robert would probably tell you, we did a few of his fights back in I don't want to tell him what years it was, Robert, but listening to you, I can only wish you all the success except for Saturday, okay? Saturday, we know one thing, I believe, listening to both of you, is that there isn't going to be a loser in this fight. You mentioned cliches, but they're both two bad warriors, okay? I mean, they're out there to knock the other guy's head off. And I believe come Saturday night, that's what we're going to be seeing from both of them. So whoever gets their hands raised will have to earn it. Whoever gets his hand raised will deserve it. But the one that doesn't get his hand raised, I believe, is also going to be a winner, because it's going to be that type of scintillating fight Saturday night.
Good luck to both teams. Let's hope for a really memorable night.